My name's Jake, and let me tell you, nothing gets your blood boiling like a letter from the HOA taped to your door, screaming about some petty violation in size 12 font. It was a crisp Saturday morning in our little slice of suburban hell, Willow Creek, where every house looks like it was spat out of the same beige mold. I'd just set up a cheap pop-up tent on my porch for my kids' sleepover. Nothing fancy. Just a place for 6 giggling 8-year-olds to roast marshmallows and pretend they're camping. Apparently, that was enough to send Karen, our HOA president and self-appointed neighborhood dictator, into a tailspin. By noon, I had a $200 fine for unauthorized temporary structures. $200. For a tent that was up for one night, I stood there, fuming, reading her typed-up nonsense about community standards, while my wife, Sarah, peeked over my shoulder, muttering, "This woman needs a hobby." I wasn't about to let this slide. Oh, hell no. If Karen wanted to play lawn police, I was ready to escalate to neighborhood anarchist. Willow Creek's the kind of place where people mow their lawns with rulers to keep the grass at exactly 2.5 inches. Karen, a wiry woman with a perm that screams, "I peaked in 1987," runs the HOA like it's her personal fiefdom. She's got a clipboard permanently glued to her hand and a knack for sniffing out anything that doesn't scream conformity. My porch tent. Apparently, it was an eyesore that disrupted the aesthetic harmony. Meanwhile, her own yard has a flamingo statue so pink it could guide ships in a fog. The hypocrisy was thicker than the humid Georgia air. I tried reasoning with her first big mistake. I knocked on her door, fine letter in hand, and said, "Karen, it was a kid's tent. One night. Can we talk about this?" She didn't even let me finish. "Rules are rules. Jacob," she snapped, like I was a toddler caught stealing cookies. "Pay the fine or face penalties." Penalties. For a freaking tent. That's when I knew this wasn't about the tent, it was about control. And I don't do well with control freaks. The next week, I started scheming. If Karen thought a porch tent was an eyesore, I'd give her something to really cry about. I spent hours online, scrolling through the HOA bylaws, looking for loopholes. Turns out, the rules were super specific about temporary structures on porches, but said jack about pools or backyard setups. Bingo. Sarah thought I was nuts when I told her my plan over dinner. "You're gonna," what she said. "Fork frozen midair." "I'm building a floating cabana," I said, grinning like a kid who just found the cookie jar. "In the pool. With waterfall drapes. And it's gonna be loud." Our backyard pool was my pride and joy. A little oasis in this cookie-cutter nightmare. The HOA couldn't touch it, pools were allowed, and decorations were at the owner's discretion. Karen was about to eat her own rulebook. I ordered the gaudiest floating cabana I could find online. Think Vegas showgirl meets tropical resort. It was 12 feet wide, bright turquoise, with shimmering silver drapes that cascaded like a waterfall. I spent a Saturday setting it up, anchoring it in the deep end of the pool, the drapes catching the breeze like some over-the-top movie set. But I wasn't done. I borrowed a buddy's old sound system, hooked it up by the pool, and blasted Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville on loop. Subtle, nah. Effective, you bet. By Sunday morning, Karen was at my gate, clipboard in hand, looking like she'd swallowed a lemon. "Jacob, this monstrosity is unacceptable," she shrieked, pointing at the cabana like it was a UFO. I leaned against the gate, sipping a beer, and said, "Check the bylaws. Karen, it's in my pool, my property, my rules." Her face went tomato red, but she didn't have a comeback. For once, I had her. Here's the twist. I didn't stop there. I'd noticed Karen's precious flamingo statue wasn't exactly on her property line. It was 6 inches over, on the community green space. A violation by her own rules. So, I did what any petty, fed-up neighbor would do. I reported it. Anonymously, of course. Sent a photo to the HOA board with a polite note about maintaining community standards. By Tuesday, Karen had her own fine taped to her door. Oh, the irony. She stormed over to my place, waving the letter like a battle flag. "You think this is funny, Jacob?" she yelled. I just shrugged and said, "Rules are rules." Right. She looked ready to explode, but all I could think was how sweet it felt to turn her own game against her. The cabana stayed up. The music kept playing, and I even added a sign in red spray paint, "HO can kiss my floating paradise." Neighbors started sneaking by, snapping pictures, probably posting them to Nextdoor with captions like "Karen's losing it." By the end of the month, the fallout was glorious. Karen's flamingo was gone, hauled off to avoid more fines. The HOA board, tired of her whining, started questioning her leadership. Turns out, I wasn't the only one fed up with her clipboard tyranny. A few neighbors even thanked me at the mailbox, saying they'd been too scared to push back. The cabana. It became a neighborhood legend. Kids begged to swim under it. And Sarah started calling it Jake's Revenge. I paid the original $200 fine small price for the chaos it caused, but I kept the cabana up all summer, just to rub it in. Karen stopped patrolling my street after that. And last I heard, she was reconsidering her role as HOA president. Good riddance. Looking back, it was petty as hell. But damn, it felt good. Sometimes you gotta fight fire with a bigger, brighter, floating fire. So, what do you think? Was I the jerk for going full tropical rebellion? Or was Karen asking for it? Drop your thoughts. I'm curious where you stand. The end.